Welcome everyone to the second webinar in the DDW Exhibit Resource webinar series titled Avoid Making These Common Exhibiting Mistakes While Planning for Digestive Disease Week. I'm Claire Johns, Senior Coordinator of DDW Industry Sales. Please be advised that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the DDW Resource Center located on ddw.org. Also, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type them in the question pane, and we will address all questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is designed to discuss the following objectives. Identify and discuss common exhibiting mistakes and missed opportunities. Discuss the importance of pre-planning for DDW and review the marketing plan and timeline. Identify marketing strategies to make your company successful at Digestive Disease Week. Be advised that this webinar is not going to discuss DDW Chicago specifically, but there will be a slide at the end of the presentation that has basic DDW dates and details. We will host another webinar in January once the Exhibitor Service Manual is released to discuss meeting-specific logistics. This webinar today has been created to educate exhibitors on the overall pre-planning process and common exhibiting mistakes made at conferences during DDW. Let's begin by discussing common exhibiting mistakes. While this list is in no particular order, and there are many more mistakes to speak to, these are some of the most common exhibiting mistakes that we continue to see over and over again. Not setting goals and objectives. You need to know why you're exhibiting, what you hope to get out of it, and how you'll measure whether or not you're successful. This is how you show your return on investment. Little to no marketing effort. Due to the strict changes that have been imposed on the medical industry, your marketing strategy is more crucial than ever. Not reading the Exhibitor Service Manual. As the meeting date nears, we receive many phone calls from exhibitors looking for direction on how to plan. Even if you have a third-party contractor building your booth, you should always read the Exhibitor Service Manual front to back. There are deadlines that you need to be aware of, and DDW administration requires certain forms to be submitted for specific activities. Not training your booth staff. Training your booth staff prior to attending a meeting is imperative to ensure your staff looks and represents themselves as first-class professionals. Ignoring key performance indicators. Besides selling your booth, you should be collecting valuable information from attendees. Information about the attendees like about your booth, if they received your mailing, whether they did not like your marketing efforts, can go a long way to improve your convention strategy. Not setting goals and objectives. For some of you, this may not apply, but for some other smaller exhibitors, especially first-time exhibitors, this is extremely important for you to consider. Having a convention strategy in place will provide you with a solid plan of action for which to follow. Identifying your goals and objectives is extremely important for you and your team to do prior to attending the meeting. Setting your goals and aligning your marketing objectives prior to the meeting will make it easier for you and your team not only to accomplish your goals, but to measure your success. Even if your goal is straightforward as establishing corporate visibility and educating attendees on who you are, you should be creating a plan of action. When setting goals and objectives, you want to identify who your target audience is and what information you would like to collect. This will allow you to develop your marketing message to create qualifying questions for your booth personnel to ask while on site. Your marketing message is what drives attendees to your booth. If you don't have a message or a story to tell, how will attendees know who you are, what your services and products are, and where you are at the meeting? There are many different ways to tell your story. You can do it through exhibit activities, through sponsorships such as banners or bag inserts, through a direct mail piece. Or you can also do this through hosting an on-site meeting, such as a VIP morning meeting in the exhibit hall, or hosting a product theater or satellite symposia. Choose the strategy that works best for you, and then put your final budget into place. This process takes a long time, usually a year or more, which is why we continue to stress to you that it's imperative that you plan earlier. If you're having trouble with this, DDW has developed a resource to help. To assist exhibitors with their convention strategy, we've created a DDW-specific marketing plan for exhibitors to use to assist with forward planning and organizing. This marketing plan will help you set your plan into action in place to identify your goals and objectives. Outline the tasks needed to meet those objectives. Ensure that those tasks align with your objectives. So when you're on site, you'll be able to confidently implement your plan of action and evaluate your success. In addition to the marketing plan, we have also included a timeline which includes both marketing and logistical tasks in chronological order. We understand you have other meetings to plan and prepare for and that your plate can be overwhelming. This timeline is to help you organize and take advantage of opportunities you may not have been aware of. Both the marketing plan and timeline are specific to the DDW meeting, but are designed to be customized to your company's specific goals and objectives. Both are available on the ddw.org Exhibitor Resource Center section. Please visit the website to review this material. These are useful resources for you to utilize to help prepare you for the conference, and we really hope you take advantage of them. Here's a sample of both the marketing plan and the timeline. Again, both can be customized to address your company's needs, objectives, and processes. But as you can see, these documents provide a starting point along with helpful hints with links to the resources you can access. The marketing plan is a template where you can put in your own objectives, situational analysis, target audiences, budgets, key messages, and set goals. The timeline is laid out by date with an action item and a link to a helpful resource that DDW has provided for you to accomplish this task. Please note that there's also helpful hints embedded within the action items to make you aware of opportunities you may have not known before. Little to no marketing effort. This is where we strongly believe the marketing plan and timeline will be most helpful. This is something we see time and time again, but it's still one of the most common mistakes made. There are many reasons why there is little to no marketing effort being made. The two most common reasons are small budget and procrastination, both of which are sometimes out of your control. If the budget you request gets denied, or your marketing message that you originally had gets changed at the last minute, it's really out of your hands. But be that as it may, your exposure on site and access to attendees will suffer for it. It doesn't matter how many shows you do. Marketing is so important, especially now that there's been a change in the exhibit hall environment. Meetings are much more competitive, and standing out from your peers is a challenge. Your marketing efforts must be more aggressive, but within regulation, of course. When attending a meeting, you always want to be diligent about your pre-show, on-site, and post-show marketing. Pre-show marketing is important because your company has to make itself known to exhibitors, to attendees prior to the meeting. 76% of trade show attendees already have the exhibits they're going to visit pre-planned due to pre-show marketing. When you do your pre-show marketing, always consider timing. Attendees receive a lot of information prior to the meeting. Not only do you want to make your material stand out from the rest, but you want to send it at the proper time. Many attendees don't plan their itineraries until closer to the meeting, 1 or 2 weeks out. So you don't want to send your information too early only to have your materials get lost or forgotten. You want to consider sending your information within a month of the meeting. While on site, you have the opportunity to repeatedly showcase and increase your brand awareness. You can do this in a number of ways. For example, your booth activities, literature handout, sponsorships, and giveaways. Cost always comes to mind with these activities, so get your money's worth and make sure that your marketing materials can be reusable. One of the biggest marketing mistakes made is the lack of post-show marketing and not contacting attendees after the show. It's not just, and this is not just after the show, but year-round. Remember, attendees have a lot going on during the meeting, and they really rely on DDW as their source of industry news. They need exhibitors to remind them of all the great products they have to offer. And those giveaways. Let's go ahead and talk about giveaways. If you haven't heard, in February 2013, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, released its final ruling on the Physician Payment Sunshine Act and released some of the long-building tension around marketing efforts at conventions. At events open to the public, such as DDW, CMS recognized that it will be extremely difficult for applicable manufacturers to identify physician-covered recipients. Therefore, CMS finalized that small incidental items under $10, such as pens and notepads, that are provided at large-scale conferences and similar large-scale events will be exempt from reporting requirements, including the need to track them for aggregate purposes. Secondly, if the giveaway is meant to educate the patient, you do not need a reporter. If you give away something that is ultimately intended to be used with the patient or to explain a procedure to a patient, such as a wall chart or an anatomical model, you do not need to report this. You will also provide a physician with a flash drive of information to be distributed to patients. CMS also stated that overhead expenses such as printing and time should not be included in the reporting as long as it's directly related to the development of materials to benefit patients or intended for a patient use. But do be aware that this does not include medical textbooks and journal reprints. Those do need to be reported. This is certainly positive and relieving news for exhibitors and conferences in the medical industry. However, this ruling does not change your internal operating procedures, and some of your regulatory departments may still be hesitant to allow things to be handed out at your booth. We do hope that this ruling eases some of those compliance fears and will help relieve some of those strict requirements. The official CMS ruling can be downloaded via this link. Please keep in mind that each state still has its own rules and requirements in place that override the CMS ruling, so you will still have to be cognizant of those attendees who are required to follow their state mandates. You can find a breakdown of the state rulings via the second link. If you're interested in marketing opportunities we offer, please visit our website at ddw.org. Under the Exhibitor tab, you'll see a drop-down listing for promotional opportunities, or you can contact me directly and I can answer any questions you may have. Another mistake exhibitors make is not only inquiring about marketing opportunities, but assuming they're too expensive, based strictly on what they see via the website. We provide a wide range of variety of opportunities at varying price points. Do not be intimidated or discouraged. We can work with you to find an opportunity that meets your needs and budget. If your budget is too small, consider taking a moment to review the Exhibitor Marketing Kit, which is free and can be used in a number of different ways. The Exhibitor Kit is available at ddw.org. It's also listed under the drop-down menu on the Exhibitors tab. These opportunities are free of charge. Pre-designed postcards, print ads, and online banner ads are available and customizable to your company. Your only responsibility is the printing of the postcards or the print ads. The online banner ads are free as well, and you are welcome to put them on your website and let visitors know you'll be attending DDW. You can use these for both pre- and post-show marketing because the postcard can be used as a thank you mailing post-show. If there are any opportunities you don't see but you would like to be made available to you, just let us know. The next common mistake we see many exhibitors make is not reading the Exhibitor Service Manual, or ESM. Whether or not you have a third-party contractor, you must read the manual. It is the handbook to each and every meeting and answers most, if not all, of your conference questions. Keep in mind that we'll be hosting a webinar in January once the service manual is available, and we will do an in-depth walkthrough. Today, I'm just going to give you an overview. Though large and intimidating, the service manual is broken down to 4 major sections. Important show information and details, which includes our exhibitor policies, exhibit hall dates and hours, install and dismantle times, vendor recommendations and contact information, exhibitor registration and housing instructions, and a checklist of deadlines so you know that when materials are due. The DDW required information and form section includes applications and forms for exhibitors to complete and submit if they're looking to purchase or to do any of the following on this list. The Freeman Services section includes a list of all the Freeman forms and catalogs. It also includes a must-read information regarding the Convention Center, labor rates, and union jurisdiction. And lastly, the Ancillary Service section includes a variety of services that are offered by other vendors, such as the Convention Center service providers, security, floral, retrieval, and temp personnel. If you have a third-party contractor building your booth for you, and depending on what services they provide, you will only need to focus on the important show information and details section and the DDW required information forms. However, we strongly recommend that you read the manual in its entirety so that you're not in the dark should an issue arise on site. No training of booth staff. This is another mistake that exhibitors make, and I can attest to the reason that we all do it, because we don't need to be trained. It's a conference. We know what we're doing. This is our job. Everyone's booth staff is as inviting as these 2 individuals, right? They're smiling, engaging, welcoming you into their booth. They have clearly been properly trained and have the right attitude while in their booth. It sounds so trivial, but it's really important because face-to-face time matters for meeting attendees, especially when it comes to the time they spend with exhibitors on the show floor. A 2012 C report, or Center for Exhibition Industry Research, titled The Role and Value of Face-to-Face Interaction, showed that trade show attendees prefer to obtain information from exhibitors through face-to-face conversations and one-on-one demonstrations with exhibit booth staff. In order for these two methods to be effective, exhibit staff must be professional and knowledgeable about the products, as well as the attendees they're speaking with. Attendees don't have much time as it is, so the last thing they want to do is waste time. This same report showed that only 26% of exhibitors conducted training for all or most events, and even more surprising, more than 50% rarely or never held exhibit staff training sessions. This illustrates the likely disconnect between attendee expectations and exhibit staff effectiveness. We strongly advise to avoid that disconnect. Your staff should properly be trained and educated on the following components, so they're fresh, confident, well-spoken, and are representing your company in the most professional manner. We know the show hours are long, and it's a lot of time standing around and talking. Make sure that you staff your booth accordingly and have shift changes. If you don't, your booth staff may end up like this. We all enjoy walking the exhibit hall in our own time and discretion, but what's even worse than someone running towards you with a stress ball? It's not being approached at all. Individual representatives that are noticeably on their phones with heads down, are tired, nursing a headache, talking to one another, and ignoring attendees is most certainly going to have a negative effect on your booth traffic. We have discussed this change in the environment in the exhibit hall and the challenge it presents you. That being said, you're probably staffing your booth with your top marketers and sales representatives, and they know what they're doing, right? These lovely ladies and gentlemen are out every day making sales and running from meeting to meeting, but they too need a refresher course to remind them of the show, the target audience, and how to be cognizant while in your booth. It's not offensive to tell your staff that they shouldn't be eating or talking on the phone in the booth. Again, it may sound trivial, but sometimes we need to be reminded of such things in such our busy lives. Sierra released another report back in July entitled An Exhibit Manager's Guide to Exhibit Staff Orientation. This report discusses how to develop pre-show exhibit staff training. Training and educating your staff will result in a better in-booth skills and behavior, motivate them to work towards your company's exhibit goals, and maximize the limited time they spend with visitors in their booth. We highly suggest reading these reports and really focusing on the behavior of your staff to ensure they are utilizing their time wisely and effectively. The last common mistake to address is ignoring key indicators. The one element that most exhibitors are focused on while at a conference is what? Leads. Though this is extremely important, quality leads is not the only indicator you should be focused on. While at the conference, you should be focused on your overall corporate presence at the meeting. Because so many exhibitors are concentrating solely on the number of qualified leads, they're missing out on a lot more beneficial information and indicators. Attendees are there to learn about your products and company and want to feel wanted and valued within your booth. If you're not listening to what they have to say, you're not only disrespecting the attendee, but you could also be missing out on important information they're trying to tell you. Let's be realistic. Not all attendees are going to be within your target audience, and you may not be able to speak to certain attendees based on questions that they ask about the product, which will result with that attendee being escorted to your medical information booth. However, the visit should not be discounted. Be sure to scan every person that comes to your booth. Also, not asking attendees about what their perception is on your booth and marketing message is a huge loss of direct feedback from people that you want to reach most. Of course, not all attendees are going to be constructive, but the number of attendees actually entering your booth, asking questions about your pipeline, and showing interest in your marketing strategies are all important information and details that you should be collecting. And of course, the lack of follow-up on leads is a big one. Do you have a workflow for when you receive your leads report? Does it sit on your desk or maybe your marketing manager's desk? Many times these leads reports go nowhere and are ignored. These are all very important factors that need to be addressed if they haven't already. One thing to note, DDW implemented an exhibitor recognition survey with the exhibit excursion last year, and we were really happy with the feedback that attendees were giving us on what they liked and what they didn't like about certain booths. If asked, they will tell you. We implemented this as a pilot last year to see how it would do, and we will be improving upon it this year to get even more detailed feedback from attendees. So everyone, this concludes our presentation. Please remain online as there are a couple more slides with resources for you. Hopefully, participating in this webinar, you have learned a great deal about the common exhibiting mistakes made at conferences, and hopefully, if you haven't already done so, you will be able to work towards avoiding them in the future. Please take advantage of the DDW marketing plan and timeline if you find it beneficial for you and your team, and remember to customize it to your own needs and corporate responsibilities. Again, marketing is more important than ever. Because of the changes in the exhibit hall and the medical industry, your marketing strategy must be aggressive and stand out from the crowd. If you don't have a large marketing budget, I strongly advise that you consider the free marketing kit available at ddw.org. Lastly, we are always looking for feedback to help improve your experience at DDW. Again, if you don't see an opportunity but you would like it to be made available to you, just let us know. If you're seeing activities that take place at other shows that aren't taking place at DDW, we want to hear about it. You have an industry advisory council that represents you in your field. Email us with your suggestions and we'll bring it up to the council. Here's some details for DDW 2014 in Chicago. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, we will be hosting another webinar in January to go over the exhibitor service manual in greater detail. A save the date and formal invitation for this webinar will be sent out later in the year. New for this year, the exhibit hall will be opening 30 minutes earlier at 9:30 a.m. and will close at 4 p.m. Also, some important dates for you to mark down on your calendar. September 6th has obviously passed, so if you haven't paid your second installment for your booth, you should do so immediately. Abstract admission opens October 17th and will close December 1st. And last but not least, exhibitor registration is scheduled to open on January 15th. You will receive an email with login information prior to that time, and we will have a few months to go, but make sure to mark it down your calendar and look out for the email. These are also some links to resources that you might find helpful when you're beginning to plan. ACA is a great resource if you want industry trends and reports. They are very good at keeping the industry informed about the Sunshine Act and Pharma and AdvaMed codes of ethics. Also, Exhibit Staff Education, a trade show must, is an article that speaks about training your booth personnel. Within this article are links to the SEER reports I spoke to. Please feel free to contact any of us at any time with any questions you may have. We really look forward to hearing from you and any ideas or suggestions that you may have. Thank you again for participating. Again, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted at the DDW Resource Center located at ddw.org for your reference. And now we'll take any questions. Here's one about giveaways. What kind of things are we allowed to give away? Well, due to the CMS ruling, you can give away incidental items that are under $10 and are available to everybody. So, should you choose, you can give away pins or trinkets, anything that will be able to help attendees remember what you guys spoke about in your conversation. Here's another one. Where can we find the links that include the presentation? The presentation will be posted in the Exhibitor Resource Center on ddw.org. If you scroll over to the Exhibitor tab, there will be a drop-down menu. There will be the Exhibitor Resource Center, and that's where all of our webinars will be posted, as well as resource links that you may find helpful. Okay, we have another one. Where would I find the ESM? The ESM will be released in January. You will be receiving an email with a link to the ESM. It will also be posted on ddw.org on the exhibitors page. And remember, we will also be doing a walkthrough webinar of the ESM in January. We will send out an invitation for that closer to when we're giving the presentation. we have somebody asking, when will the new DDW 2014 materials be available? A lot of the materials are currently available, but the resource links that you find most important will be in the ESM, which is going to be released in January. Here's a really interesting question. Talking to attendees is scary. How do I go about it? Talking to attendees can be scary, but I think talking to anybody new can be scary. Just remember that attendees are there to learn. DDW is first and foremost an educational meeting, and they want to learn what's the newest and best out there in their field. So you want to go ahead and know that they are looking for the conversation, and don't be scared because they're not going to bite you, we promise. But if you prepare your booth staff properly and you're trained and you know your material, there is absolutely nothing to be afraid of. What type of marking materials can we include on DDW bags? I'm a little confused by this one, but you're allowed to do bag inserts in the DDW material bag, which is a maximum of an 8x11 flyer that you can put all of your marking materials on, and we really suggest that you use your inserts as a call to action. So have the attendee bring the flyer to your booth in order to get one of your fun giveaways or to promote a coupon or sale that you have going on. Here's an interesting comment. The last day of exhibit is always sparse. Have you considered shortening the exhibit hours on the last day? We've gotten a lot of feedback from our attendees that they like having the longer exhibit hours because it gives them more flexibility to fit the exhibit hall into their schedule. We have implemented, as of last year, a closing reception on Tuesday afternoon so that we can have give attendees a further more reason to come into the hall on Tuesday and really leave DDW with a bang. Also, speaking to the sparseness of the day, DDW did implement last year some breaks within the day so that there is no new programming during that time. There are still sessions that will run, but it's a break for attendees to kind of give them a space to come into the exhibit hall and to network with their peers. What are some new things that you're seeing in terms of technology and booths to engage attendees? We're always looking for new ideas. That's great. We love to see new and fun things in booths, and so do attendees. There are some great things that we've seen, especially in the hands-on realm. Attendees love to be able to touch and feel and see products. So some of the great things that we've seen are where attendees can come into the booth and almost gamify their experience, where they can touch the product, give feedback on the product. A very interesting comment we've heard from I heard from attendees personally was that they loved being part of the kind of the R&D about it when the brand new products that are out, and then kind of give feedback on how they like the new grip or whether or not they like a certain product to use in this way. Those are always great things. Anything interactive and engaging. Well, I don't see any new questions, so unless anybody else has anything else they'd like to talk to, I'd really like to thank you for being part of this presentation. And if you have any further questions or concerns or just want to chat about ideas you have, please feel free to give anybody on the DDW staff a call whenever you have a chance. Oh, you know what? We have some more come in. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and answer these real quick. Here's one about the Sunshine Act. The Sunshine Act, food and beverages. Have you seen any issues? The Sunshine Act did actually put a ruling on food and beverages as well, so that's a great question. As long as food and beverage falls under that $10 minimum and is available to everybody, it's fine. There's another ruling that says as long as it is open to everybody, it's unreportable, such as a buffet meal or where you don't, attendees can come and pick up the meal and listen to your presentation. That does not need reported. Now, if it is invited attendees or if there is a sit-down meal that can have a dollar amount put on it, that does need to be reported. But you are more than welcome to put cups of coffee and treats in your booth. Everybody loves food. That is one of the #1 feedback we get from our attendees is that they want to see more food and snacks. So please, and we love the smell of cookies. Okay, and I think that is it. Thanks so much, everybody.